Good afternoon to everyone. My report, or the part of my report, will be the Bureau of Labor Relations. So, starting, the Bureau of Labor Relations is a government agency in the Philippines and some countries as well, responsible for overseeing labor and employment relations. Your main function niya is typically includes handling labor disputes, promoting labor management cooperation, and ensuring compliance with labor laws and regulations. So, as I said kanina, the Bureau of Labor Relations is a government agency na responsible for labor relations and promoting harmonious relationships between employers and employees. Yung primary functions ng BLR is first registering labor organizations and collective bargaining agreements. So, registering labor organizations and CBAs, or collective bargaining agreements, helps establish legal frameworks that govern labor relations. And this ensures that agreements are fair and enforceable and protect the rights and interests of both employees and employers. So, the specific procedures and requirements for registration can vary depending on local labor laws and regulations. Next primary function is conducting elections for collective bargaining representatives. So, conducting elections for collective bargaining representatives is an essential aspect of maintaining democratic and fair labor relations. It ensures that workers have a say in selecting their representatives and nagfo-foster din siya ng transparency and accountability sa negotiation process. Next is investigating and resolving labor disputes. The approach to investigating and resolving labor disputes can vary then depending sa nature and complexity ng issue, such as um, complexity of issues as well as the specific labor laws and regulations in place. Yung goal nito is to address the concerns of all parties involved and nagme-maintain ng positive labor relations. Next is mediating and conciliating labor disputes. So both mediation and conciliation aim to achieve a peaceful and mutually acceptable resolution to labor disputes. They are typically less formal and adversarial than legal proceedings, and nagme-maintain din, nakaka-help din siya mag-maintain or improve ng working relationships between labor unions tsaka ng employers. The specific procedures and the employment of mediators or conciliations can vary depending on local labor laws and agreements between the parties involved. Next is arbitrating labor disputes. So arbitration is commonly used to resolve labor disputes, especially pag yung parties, they want a faster and more private resolution kaysa sa pagpunta sa mga, or um, like they want more faster and private resolutions than going through a lengthy court process. So, nagpo-provide siya ng structured and fair methods for reaching decisions and consensus labor relations issues. Next is enforcing labor standard laws. The goal of enforcing labor standard laws is, of course, para ma-ensure that employees receive fair treatment, safe working conditions, and appropriate compensation for their work. This enforcement mechanism vary from one jurisdiction to another, but they collectively aim to safeguard the rights and well-being of workers and maintain labor market fairness. Next is action and application. So, the specific actions taken by a Bureau of Labor Relations in response to an application can vary depending on the nature of the application and the labor laws and regulations in place in a particular jurisdiction. But typically, nagfo-follow sila ng process like first the parties involved will submit an application that will then get reviewed and evaluate, notification, magkakaroon ng mediation or reconciliation, there's going to be an investigation. Um, next is there's going to be adjudication or arbitration, then they're going to reach decisions and resolutions, and then there's going to be compliance and follow-up, and then the last actions. So that's going to be the action ng applications for the BLR. Next is cancellation of registration. So, the BLR has the power to cancel registrations of the labor organization on any of the following grounds. First is failure to comply with any of the requirements for registration, valuation, violations of any provision of labor code or its implementing rules and regulations, commission of fraud or deceit in connection with its registration. So, it's essential for labor organizations to diligently maintain compliance with registration requirements to avoid the risk of cancellation. So, compliance, nakakatulong sila to ensure that they can continue to represent workers and engage in collective bargaining or other labor-related activities. If there's going to be a decision and you don't agree to it, of course, you can always appeal for it. So the process of appeal, na magpapasa ng appeal to NLRC. NLRC is NLRC is National Labor Relations Commissions. So magpapasa ng appeal to NLRC. This will get reviewed by the National Labor Relations Commissions, and then there's going to be a further appeal if you don't agree to the decision of the appeal still. So the appeals process in labor relations is an essential component of ensuring that parties involved in disputes can seek further review and potentially correct any errors or injustices in the decision made by at lower levels. So nagpo-provide ito ng mechanism for addressing disputes through a structured legal process. Next part of my report will be intra-union disputes. So what is intra-union disputes? So intra-union disputes is also known as internal union disputes. This refers to conflicts and disagreements na nag-occur within the labor union or trade union among its members, leaders, or committees. So itong mga disputes na to, this can arise from various issues, and various issues including disagreements about union policies, maybe leadership elections, financial matters, or internal governance. So ano ba yung mga um, examples of intra-union disputes? First is leadership elections. Intra-union disputes related to leadership elections are a common source of internal conflicts within late labor unions. So these disputes typically involves around issues and conflicts related to the process of electing union leaders such as union president, officers, or board members. Next example is contract negotiations. Um, Intra-union disputes related to contract negotiations can disrupt the collective bargaining process and nakakaapekto din siya sa labor relations within a union. Itong disputes na to can occur pagka yung union members, leaders, or committees ay nagdi-disagree on key elements of a labor contract being negotiated with their employer. Next is grievance procedures. This is related to conflicts, or this involves conflicts or disagreements naman among union members, leaders, or committees over kung paano um, na-handle over how grievances within the union should be handled. So grievance procedures are mechanism that na ina-establish ng unions to address and resolve disputes and concerns raised by their members. Next is interpretation of the union's constitution and bylaws. Ito naman, this is concerning the interpretation of the union's cons- constitution and bylaws, and this can create conflicts within the union, especially when members, leaders, or committees have differing views on how these governing documents should be applied. So yung constitution and bylaws are foundational documents that outline the rules, procedures, and government structure of the union. If the members, leaders, or committees have different views on a specific law, um, that's when the dispute starts. Next is discrimination and harassment. So intra-union disputes related to discrimination and harassment involves conflicts or disagreements within a labor union regarding allegations of discriminatory or harassing behavior by union members, leaders, or employees. So itong mga disputes na to typically centers on issues of workplace misconduct at and the appropriate response to such behavior. Next is allocation of resources. Intra-union disputes over the allocation of resources involving conflicts or disagreements within a labor union regarding how the union's financial and other resources should be distributed and utilized. So itong mga klase ng disputes na to usually revolve around decisions relating to budgeting or expenditures or yung pagpa-prioritize ng mga union activities. Next is personal disagreement. Uh, so yung this is stemming from personal disagreements involving conflicts or disputes within a labor union that is driven by interpersonal conflicts or differences ng opinions or tensions between individual unions members, leaders, or committees. Yung mga ganitong disputes may not necessarily be related to union policies or activities but instead nag-i-involve ng personal issues. Siguro pagka may personal away with one another, doon siya nag-a-arise. So intra-union disputes can be disruptive and harmful to the union and its members. They can lead to disease morale, decreased productivity, and even the dissolution of the union. There are several different ways to resolve intra-union disputes. Some unions have internal grievance procedures that members can use to resolve their disputes. Meron namang mga unions na uses mediation or arbitration to resolve disputes. In some cases, intra-union disputes may be brought before a court of law. Next and last part of my report will be the labor arbiters. So, who are the labor arbiters? So, labor arbiters, often known as labor or employment arbitrators, are individual responsible for resolving labor-related disputes and conflicts through a process known as labor arbitration. Labor arbitration is a form of alternative dispute resolution used in mga labor relations to settle a disagreement between employees or between labor unions and employers nang hindi dumadaan sa traditional court system. Uh, Labor arbiters, they play a critical role sa pagme-maintain ng peaceful and effective labor relations by offering an avenue for resolving conflicts that arises in the workplace. Nakakatulong sila sa parties that nakakatulong sila to reach settlements and avoid lengthy and costly court proceedings. The specific qualifications, appointments process, and regulations governing labor arbiters can vary from one jurisdiction to another, and these individuals are an essential part of the labor relations landscape, and they contribute to the fair and just resolution of labor disputes. Now we will talk about jurisdiction of labor arbiters. Um, so yung mga labor arbiters, they have original and exclusive jurisdiction over all labor disputes that involves the termination of employment, unfair labor practices, um, disputes about wages, hours of work, and other terms and condition, social security, provident funds, and other benefits, and injuries and damages arising out of the employment. Okay, sorry about that. So again, if you disagree with the decision ng labor arbiters, you can also appeal. That is your right. You um, Appealing the decision of labor arbiters typically involves a multi-step process. General outline of the step um, typically involves sa pag-a-appeal ng decision ng labor arbiters are, of course, you're going to review the arbitration's award. You will have to consult with legal counsel. You have to check applicable time frames as well. And then after that, you now can appeal a notice. You can now file a notice of appeal. You have to pay required fees. And then after that, pwede ka na makakuha ng copy of the arbitration record. Kailangan mong mag-prepare ng brief, and then you have to attend appellate hearings. You have to wait for the appellate decision, and if you still don't agree with the decision after the appeal, you can consider further appeals. So throughout the appeals process, it's crucial to be aware of the specific procedures and requirements set forth in your jurisdiction's law, labor laws, and regulations. Additionally on that, um, yung pagkakaroon ng legal representation is highly advisable. Kasi yung labor arbitration and appeals can be complex, and mga legal counsel can help ensure that um, sin- we follow the correct legal procedures and we present our case effectively. With that, the appeal that we are making can have a higher chance to be successful. That is all of my report for today. The next part of the report will be discussed. This will be discussed by Sir Andrew. He will be discussing regarding voluntary arbitration, worldwide paper mills, and then a case study. Thank you.